I still remember the exact time because I checked my phone at least 4 times in those final minutes. 2:07 a.m. When your battery is at 8% and the street around you looks like it was erased from the world, time becomes something you cling to. Proof that you still exist. Proof that you're not already gone. The street I stood on wasn't supposed to feel that empty. It was a county road just outside Ashford Ridge, Oregon, a place commuters passed through every day without thinking twice. During daylight, it was boring. Trees, old fencing, a few rusted mailboxes leaning at bad angles. At night, it became something else. Fog rolled in low, hugging the pavement like it was alive. Not drifting. Waiting. My boots made soft, hollow sounds when I shifted my weight, and every sound felt too loud, like the world was listening. I was coming back from a double shift at the freight terminal. My car had died earlier that week. Transmission finally gave up, and rideshare stopped running after midnight out here. There was only one way home. Route 88. Locals joked about it. The last bus. The graveyard shift ride. People said it was unreliable, but it always showed up. Eventually. I told myself that's all it was. A joke. Local flavor. Still, when you're alone at 2 in the morning, jokes stop being funny. I pulled my jacket tighter and looked down the road again. Visibility couldn't have been more than 30 feet. The fog swallowed everything beyond that. Trees loomed like silhouettes of unfinished thoughts. Then I saw the headlights. At first they were dull and yellowed, barely cutting through the mist. I felt relief hit me so hard my knees nearly buckled. The bus was real. I wasn't stranded. As it got closer, something about it felt off. Not wrong exactly, just tired. The bus slowed as it approached, brakes sighing instead of screeching. When it stopped, the doors folded open with a groan that sounded like it came from deep inside a chest. The interior lights flickered before settling into a weak, jaundiced glow. I hesitated. Every instinct I had told me to step back, to let it pass. But behind me was nothing but darkness, and ahead of me was warmth, movement, and a ride home. I stepped on. The smell hit me first. Not rot, not garbage. Something older. Like damp paper and metal left too long in a basement. The kind of smell that makes your throat tighten without knowing why. There were only 2 people inside. The driver sat hunched forward, hands gripping the wheel too tightly. He didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge me at all. His uniform was neat but faded, like it had been washed too many times. Behind him stood the conductor. She was middle-aged, hair pulled back into a severe knot, eyes sharp in a way that suggested she noticed things other people missed. She nodded once, clipped and professional. "Route 88, she said. "Last run." I paid and moved deeper into the bus. The seats were old vinyl, cracked and stiff. I chose one halfway down, on the right side, near the window. The glass was cold against my temple when I leaned my head briefly, trying to relax. The doors closed. The bus pulled away. For a few minutes, everything felt normal enough. The engine hummed. Tires whispered over wet asphalt. The fog outside pressed against the windows like curious fingers. I checked my phone again. No signal. That wasn't unusual out here. Then the bus slowed. The conductor moved forward, bracing herself against a pole. "Visibility's getting worse," she said to the driver. "We can take the service loop. It's longer, but safer." The driver didn't answer right away. I could see his eyes in the rearview mirror, red-rimmed, heavy-lidded. Before he could respond, the bus stopped again. 3 figures stood in the road ahead. They hadn't been there a second earlier. I was sure of it. The driver leaned forward. "Damn it," he muttered. The figures waved. Reluctantly, The bus rolled closer. When the doors opened, cold rushed in, sharper than before. 3 men stepped aboard. They wore clothes that didn't belong to any decade I recognized. Long coats, buttoned high at the neck, dark and stiff with grime. Their shoes were coated in mud that looked too thick, too dark. The one in the middle sagged heavily, arms slung over the shoulders of the other 2. At first, I thought he was drunk or injured. Then I noticed how the others didn't adjust their grip. He wasn't heavy to them. They didn't speak. The conductor glanced at them, then back at the driver. "Where you headed?" No response. The middleman's head lolled forward, hair hanging over his face like wet strands of wire. They moved down the aisle without a word. I felt my stomach tighten as they passed me. The air around them was colder, not metaphorically, physically colder. Goosebumps prickled my arms instantly. They sat near the back. The doors closed. The bus moved again. Silence swallowed everything. I tried not to stare, but the reflection in the window betrayed me. I could see them faintly behind me. The middle one didn't move, didn't breathe. The others sat rigid, hands still hooked under his arms. Something about the way they sat bothered me. They weren't resting. They were holding him up. Minutes passed. The road curved away from the main highway, trees crowding closer on either side. This wasn't the normal route. The conductor noticed me watching. She walked down the aisle and stopped beside my seat. "Long night?" she asked quietly. "Yeah," I said. My voice sounded thin to my own ears. "Is this the usual way?" Her mouth tightened. "Fog's bad. Shortcuts risky." I nodded, though my unease grew. As she turned to leave, I heard it. A soft sound. Wet. Rhythmic. I looked back. The middleman's head had lifted slightly. His hair shifted, just enough. There was nothing underneath. No eyes. No nose. No mouth. Just smooth, pale skin where a face should have been. My breath locked in my chest. I blinked hard, convinced my eyes were playing tricks on me. When I looked again, his head had slumped forward, hair covering his face once more. These others hadn't reacted. I leaned toward the aisle, heart pounding, and whispered to the conductor, "Ma'am?" She stopped. "Those guys, something's wrong." Her expression didn't change, but her eyes flicked briefly toward the back, then back to me. "Old theater troupe," she said evenly. "There's a historic playhouse off County 9. They do period stuff. That doesn't explain. Best not to stare," she cut in softly. "Some people don't like being watched." She walked away before I could respond. I sat frozen. The bus continued deeper into the trees. The fog thickened, swallowing even the roadside markers. The headlights illuminated nothing but swirling white. Then the driver slammed the brakes. The jolt threw me forward. My shoulder struck the seat ahead of me. "What the hell?" I started. "Animal," the driver muttered. "Black shape. Just crossed the road." My heart raced. As the bus idled, something brushed past the window. A shadow, low to the ground, too smooth in its movement. When the bus started again, my phone buzzed. No signal, but a notification anyway. Unknown event logged. I didn't understand it then. I would later. A few minutes passed. Then a woman stood up. She had been sitting quietly near the front, older, gray hair tucked under a knit hat. I hadn't noticed her before. "My purse," she said suddenly, voice sharp. "It's gone." The conductor turned. "Ma'am?" "That boy," she snapped, pointing at me. "When the bus stopped, he took it." I stared at her, stunned. "What?" "No, I didn't touch your—" She lunged forward and slapped me. The sound cracked through the bus like a gunshot. "Thief!" she screamed. I stood up instinctively, hands raised. "Check me." "I don't have it." The conductor stepped between us. "Everyone calm down." The driver pulled over. "This isn't the place for this," he said. "There's a ranger station a mile up. You two can sort it out there." My mouth opened to protest, but the old woman grabbed my arm with surprising strength. "Get off," she hissed. "Now!" Before I could think, I was pulled toward the door. As I stepped down onto the wet gravel, the cold hit me like a wall. The doors closed behind us. The bus pulled away. Only when its taillights vanished into the fog did the woman release me. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and smiled. "You're welcome," she said. "What?" I whispered. She leaned closer. "If you'd stayed on that bus, you wouldn't have made it home." The fog thickened around us. Somewhere in the distance, an engine roared on, growing fainter, not closer. And that's when I realized something terrifying. The road ahead of us led back toward town. The bus had continued the wrong way. The bus disappeared into the fog so completely that it felt unreal, like something imagined under stress. One moment the red taillights burned faintly ahead of us, and the next, they were gone, swallowed by the white silence. The road stood empty again, damp and narrow, stretching in both directions like a bad decision that couldn't be undone. The old woman released my arm. Only then did I realize how tightly she had been holding me. My skin ached where her fingers had dug in, yet her grip had never felt violent. It had felt urgent, protective, like someone pulling another person away from the edge of something deep and final. "You're safe now," she said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, as if we had just stepped off a city bus instead of something far worse. My heart still hammered in my chest. "You accused me of stealing." "I know," she replied, "and you didn't." "Then why?" "Because fear is louder than truth," she said, cutting me off. "And it listens faster." I stared at her, struggling to process what had just happened. The fog pressed close around us, muting sound, distorting distance. The bus stop sign behind me looked unfamiliar now, crooked and rusted. Its reflective paint dulled like it hadn't been cleaned in years. I pulled out my phone again. Still no signal. The screen flickered when I tried to unlock it, the battery dropping another percentage for no reason I could understand. "Where are we?" I asked. She adjusted her hat. "Still on Route 88, but not where it wants you to be." "That doesn't make sense." "It will." She began walking toward town, slow but steady, as if she had made this walk before. After a moment, I followed. I didn't want to be alone out there, not with the night feeling the way it did. The fog thinned slightly as we moved, revealing dark trees lining the road. Their branches leaned inward, forming a loose canopy overhead. The air smelled wet and metallic, like rain that never quite fell. "You knew," I said after a few minutes, "about the men on the bus." "Yes, and you still got on." She nodded. "Because I had to make sure it didn't take you." That sent a chill through me that had nothing to do with the cold. "Why me?" She stopped walking and turned to face me. "Because you noticed," she said. "Most people don't." "Noticed what?" "Things that don't belong," she replied. "Places that feel wrong. Silence that's too heavy. When something is off, you feel it. You didn't ignore that feeling. That's why you're standing here and not somewhere else. Somewhere else." I thought of the faceless man, the way the other two had held him upright, the cold radiating from them. "What were they?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she resumed walking. They weren't passengers, she said eventually. They were cargo. That word settled into my stomach like a stone. We reached a small pull-off where a single street light buzzed weakly. Its light flickered, barely pushing back the darkness. Beneath it stood a bench, its paint chipped and peeling. She sat. "Sit," she said. I hesitated, then did as she asked. "The bus doesn't always stop for people," she continued. "Sometimes it stops for what's already dead." I swallowed. "You're saying the driver knew?" "Yes." "And the conductor?" "She knows enough." The image of her sharp eyes flashed through my mind, the way she had shut me down when I tried to speak up. "She told me not to stare," I said. "That was a kindness," the old woman replied. "Attention is an invitation." I rubbed my arms, suddenly aware of how quiet everything was. No insects, no distant traffic, just the faint hum of the street light. "What happens to people who stay on?" I asked. Her mouth tightened. "They don't go where they think they're going." "Where did they go?" She looked past me, down the road, where the fog still lingered. "Somewhere that keeps them." The word echoed in my head. Keeps. I thought about my job, my apartment, the half-eaten takeout container waiting in my fridge, all the small, ordinary things I had almost lost without realizing it. "How do you know all this?" I asked. She sighed. "Because I didn't always get off in time." That made me turn fully toward her. "You were on it before?" "Yes." "When?" "Years ago. Different night, different driver, same road." "What happened?" Her eyes reflected the streetlight, glossy and distant. I watched someone not make it off. The silence that followed was heavier than anything before. "Who?" I asked softly. "My brother." The word landed with weight. "He was tired," she continued. "Worked nights like you. Trusted schedules. Trusted systems. Trusted that if something was marked public, it was safe." I could hear the bitterness under her calm. "He noticed something was wrong," she said. "But he didn't listen to himself. He didn't want to make a scene. Didn't want to seem foolish." I thought of how close I had come to staying quiet, to doubting myself. "What happened to him?" I asked. She shook her head. "They found the bus 2 days later, or what was left of it." My breath caught. "In a place it couldn't have reached," she went on. "No fuel, no tracks, no explanation. Just remains." I remembered the way the bus had driven deeper into the fog after dropping us off. The wrong direction, the road that didn't lead home. "Why does it happen?" I asked. "Why that route?" She looked up at the sky, though nothing was visible through the haze. "Because roads remember," she said, "and some of them remember things that never stopped traveling." I didn't know what to say to that. After a while, she stood. "Come on, you can walk the rest of the way alone from here." I frowned. "You're not coming?" She smiled faintly. "I've gone far enough." "Will it come back?" I asked. Her smile faded. "It always does." We walked together until the road split, one path leading toward the faint glow of town lights, the other disappearing into darkness. She stopped at the split. "From here," she said, "you keep moving. Don't look back." "What about you?" "I'll wait," she replied. "I always do." I wanted to argue, to ask more questions, but something in her tone told me it wouldn't matter. So I nodded. "Thank you," I said. She gave a small nod in return. "Remember what your instincts sound like," she said. "They might save you again." I turned and walked toward town. The farther I got, the warmer the air felt. Sound returned slowly. Wind through leaves, the distant bark of a dog, the hum of power lines. The world stitched itself back together piece by piece. When I finally reached my apartment, dawn was just beginning to lighten the sky. I collapsed onto my bed without even taking my shoes off. I didn't dream. Later that morning, my phone buzzed. Signal restored. A news alert flashed across the screen. Local authorities search for missing night bus on Route 88. My chest tightened as I read. The bus had left the depot at 1:42 a.m. It had never reached its final stop. I scrolled further. Witnesses reported seeing it pull over briefly near a rural turnout. Security cameras captured it driving past that point. After that, nothing. No footage, no records, no explanation. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the screen. At the bottom of the article was a single line that made my blood run cold. Authorities believe no passengers were on board at the time of disappearance. I thought of the old woman, of her brother, of the faceless man, of the way the conductor had said, "Last run." That night, as the sun set and shadows stretched long across the road outside my window, I realized something else. I hadn't told anyone my name. And yet, hours later, a voicemail appeared on my phone. No number. Just static. And beneath it, faint but unmistakable, the sound of an engine idling. I didn't listen to the voicemail right away. I don't know why. Fear, maybe. Or instinct. The same instinct the old woman had told me not to ignore. The phone sat on my kitchen counter, vibrating faintly as if it were breathing. The screen lit with that single missed call notification. No number. Just static. I poured myself a glass of water with shaking hands and tried to focus on ordinary things. The chipped mug in the sink, the hum of the refrigerator, the sound of a car passing somewhere outside. Proof that the world was still normal. But every time the refrigerator motor clicked on, my chest tightened, because it sounded too much like an engine idling. By the time night fell again, the unease had sunk deep into my bones. I hadn't slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw fog pressing against glass, headlights floating in white nothingness. At 11:43 p.m., I finally pressed play. Static filled the room, thick, layered, like multiple channels bleeding into one another. Then, underneath it, the low rumble of a diesel engine. Steady. Patient. No voices. But just before the message ended, I heard something else. A breath. Not mine. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor face down, the sound loud in the quiet apartment. I didn't pick it up again until morning. The news ran another segment the next day. Still no bus. Still no explanation. Officials repeated the same phrases. Mechanical failure. Possible theft. Investigation ongoing. Words meant to soothe people who didn't know what Route 88 really was. I did. And that knowledge changed how the world felt. Every road seemed longer. Every late-night commute heavier. I started taking different routes home, even when it added time. I avoided buses entirely, walked when I could, drove when I had to. For a while, it worked. Then, 3 weeks later, I saw the conductor. It was just after midnight. I was leaving a convenience store on the edge of town, the kind that never closed and never felt truly open either. The parking lot lights buzzed overhead, drawing moths into slow, desperate circles. She stood near the soda machines. Same uniform, same tight posture, same sharp eyes. My breath caught. I froze with my hand on my car door. She looked at me like she'd been expecting me. "You got off early," she said. My mouth went dry. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," she replied. I glanced around. The clerk inside was stocking shelves, oblivious. No one else in the lot. "Where's the bus?" I asked. She smiled thinly. "On schedule." My heart pounded. "People are missing." She tilted her head. "People always are." I swallowed hard. "You let those things on." "They had tickets," she said simply. "For what?" I snapped. "To die?" Her eyes hardened. "To arrive." The word sent a chill through me. "You knew," I said. "That night. You knew what they were." "Yes." "And you still drove." "I don't drive," she corrected. "I make sure the ride goes smoothly." I shook my head. "Why me? Why did you let me off?" She studied me for a long moment. "Because you were already half listening," she said, "and because someone else intervened." "The old woman," I whispered. Her jaw tightened. "She's persistent. She saved my life." The conductor's gaze flicked briefly toward the road, as if checking something unseen. "She delayed it," she said. "There's a difference." "What does that mean?" "It means," she said calmly, "that you noticed the bus." A gust of wind swept through the parking lot, rattling a loose sign. For a second, I could have sworn the asphalt darkened beneath her feet, like oil spreading. "I don't want anything to do with this," I said. "I just want it to stop." She laughed softly. "That's not how routes work." Before I could respond, a horn sounded somewhere beyond the store. Low, distant. Her smile widened. "I have to go," she said. "Last run." She walked past me toward the darkness at the edge of the lot. I didn't follow. I couldn't. That night, I dreamed of roads. Not highways or streets, but long, narrow paths cutting through empty land. They twisted and overlapped like veins, stretching farther than I could see. Names were carved into the pavement, some familiar, some not. Mine was there. I woke with a gasp, sweat soaking the sheets. The next morning, I found tire tracks outside my apartment building. Fresh. Too large to belong to any car that parked there. They led away toward Route 88. I called in sick that day. Then the phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, static, engine noise, and this time, a voice. Mine. Saying my name. Over and over. I stopped answering unknown calls after that. Stopped checking voicemails. But ignoring something doesn't make it disappear. It just makes it patient. A week later, I saw the old woman again. She stood at the same road split where she'd left me, fog curling around her like a cloak. It was nearly midnight. I hadn't planned to go there. My feet had simply carried me. "You're being followed," she said before I could speak. "I know," I replied. She studied my face. "It marked you." "What does that mean?" "It means you were supposed to stay," she said. "And now it's correcting." My throat tightened. "Can it be stopped?" She hesitated. "It can be interrupted." "How?" "By forcing it to choose." "That doesn't sound reassuring." "It isn't," she said. She explained as we walked. Route 88 wasn't just a bus line. It was a pattern. A repeated path carved so deeply into the world that it began to take shape of its own. Over decades, accidents happened. Disappearances. Deaths. Enough that the road learned how to carry more than traffic. It learned how to carry intent. The bus was just a vessel. The driver wasn't always alive. Sometimes neither was the conductor. "What happens if it catches me?" I asked. She stopped walking. "You'll finish the ride." "And then?" She didn't answer. We reached the old turnout where I'd been forced off weeks earlier. The fog was thicker now, almost solid. "You don't have much time," she said. "It's already adjusting the schedule." As if on cue, headlights appeared in the distance. Yellow, dull, familiar. My heart slammed against my ribs. "No," I whispered. The bus slowed as it approached. Doors opened. The conductor stood inside, smiling. "End of the line," she called softly. The old woman grabbed my hand. "Now," she said. "Choose." I looked at the bus, then at the road behind me. The fog surged forward, swallowing the trees, the sky, everything but that open door. I took a step back. The engine revved. I took another. The conductor's smile faltered. For the first time, I saw anger in her eyes. The old woman pulled me hard, and we ran. The horn blared behind us, long and furious. We didn't stop until my lungs burned and my legs gave out. When we finally looked back, the road was empty. No bus, no lights, just fog. The old woman exhaled slowly. "You bought yourself time," she said. "That's it?" I asked between breaths. "Time? For now. What happens next?" She met my eyes. "You stop being predictable." I nodded, though I didn't fully understand. As dawn broke, I realized something terrifying. The bus hadn't followed. It had let us go. And somehow, that was worse. I stopped sleeping after that night. Not because I was afraid of nightmares, but because being awake felt just as dangerous. The old woman vanished before sunrise, dissolving into the fog like she'd never been there at all. No name, no address, just the echo of her warning. Stop being predictable. That sentence followed me everywhere. I quit my job 3 days later without giving notice, packed what I could fit into my car, and drove west with no destination, avoiding highways, avoiding schedules, avoiding anything that felt routine. I paid cash. I changed motels every night. I stopped answering my phone entirely. For a while, it worked. Then I saw the bus again. It was parked across the street from a diner in the middle of nowhere. One of those places with flickering neon signs and coffee that tasted burnt no matter how fresh it was. The bus lights were off, but I recognized the shape instantly. The long body, the faded paint, the number 88 barely visible on the side. My hand started shaking so badly, I spilled coffee on the counter. The waitress asked if I was okay. I told her I hadn't slept. That wasn't a lie. I watched through the window as fog rolled in, unnaturally fast. The road disappeared first, then the bus, like something erasing a chalkboard. When I looked back down at the counter, my receipt had a number printed on it. 88. That night, the dreams came back. I was sitting on the bus again, only this time I was alone. No passengers, no conductor, just rows of empty seats stretching endlessly behind me. The windows showed nothing but darkness. The bus wasn't moving, but the engine was running. A voice came from the speaker above the driver's seat, low, distorted, layered with static. Final boarding. I woke up screaming. The next morning, my car wouldn't start. No mechanical reason, no warning lights. It just refused, like it had decided I wasn't going anywhere. That's when I understood. Running wasn't working because the route wasn't geographical. It was behavioral. I went back. Not to the exact place where it started, but close enough. The edge of the city. The last official stop before the road thinned into darkness. I waited until midnight, standing under a broken streetlight that flickered like a failing heartbeat. At 12:06 a.m., the fog arrived. At 12:07, the bus did too. It rolled to a stop with a sigh of brakes, doors opening slowly, deliberately. The conductor stood inside. She looked tired. "You're late," she said. "I'm ending this," I replied. She studied me for a long moment. "You can't." "I can refuse." She shook her head. "You already did. That's why we're here." I stepped onto the bus. The air inside was colder than winter. The seats were empty, but I could feel something occupying them. Pressure without form. Presence without bodies. "What do you want from me?" I asked. The doors closed behind me with a final hiss. "To finish what you interrupted," she said. The bus began to move. Outside the windows, the world stretched and warped, buildings bending like reflections in water. Street signs twisted into unreadable shapes. The road ahead narrowed until it felt less like pavement and more like a tunnel. "I didn't belong here," I said. "No one ever does," she replied. "Belonging isn't required. Participation is." The speaker crackled overhead. Names began to play. Not spoken. Remembered. Each one hit like a blow to the chest. I saw faces, felt lives brushing against mine, brief and cold. "Why show me this?" I demanded. "Because you listened," she said. "Most don't." The bus slowed. Ahead of us, the road ended. Not in a wall, not in darkness, in nothing. A vast, empty absence where reality simply stopped. "This is the last stop," the conductor said. "For who?" "For you," she answered softly. The bus doors opened. The cold rushed in, deeper than air should be. I stood. My legs trembled. "You could stay," she said. "Take my place. Keep the route stable." "And if I don't?" She looked past me into the empty seats. "Then I'd find someone else. Someone less careful." I thought of the people who'd vanished. The voices. The names. I shook my head. "I won't be part of this." Something changed. The bus groaned. The lights flickered violently. The pressure inside intensified, like the vehicle itself was resisting. "You don't understand," she snapped. "If the route breaks..." "Then it breaks," I said. I stepped off the bus. For a moment I expected to fall. Instead, my feet touched solid ground. Behind me, the bus screamed. Not the horn, the bus itself. Metal warped, glass shattered inward. The conductor shouted something I couldn't hear as the fog surged, swallowing the vehicle whole. Then, silence. I stood alone on an empty road at dawn. No bus, no fog, just asphalt and birdsong and the distant sound of traffic. The route was gone. Life didn't return to normal after that. It couldn't. I still avoid routines. Still wake up at night when I hear engines idle too long. Still refuse to take buses, even in daylight. Sometimes, though, I see a road that looks a little too empty. A stop sign that hums faintly. A stretch of pavement that feels like it's waiting. And I walk the other way. Because I know now, some routes don't end. They just wait for someone new to listen.